Footaball Team. Viva as emoções de uma partida real ao jogar os campeonatos online. Entre no jogo, crie seu time, desenvolva seu estádio, reúna jogadores, personalize e treine seu atleta, colecione itens, abra pacotes, faça upgrades e trocas e torne-se o melhor. Registre-se pelo link na descrição e receba 200 pontos de energia como bônus.
I'm Freddie Ljungberg. I'm going to discuss a little bit about the Invisible Team 03-04. We have Jens Lehmann in goal. We have Lauren, right back. We have Kolo, right centre back. Left centre back is Sol Campbell. Then we have Ashley Cole, left back. Holding or sitting midfielders will be Vieira and Gilberto. I will play right or left sometimes, but mostly to the right. And Robert plays to the left. And then we have Thierry or Henry as a striker, and then you have Dennis as maybe a striker that drops deep sometimes. We coach within the team if there was this and that needed, but in general terms it was a 4-4-2 where our fullbacks will just go. We'll keep, let's say we're attacking the two centre-backs, two centre midfielders most of the time. Patrick once in a while will go, but not often. Will stay to be like a square of compactness in the back, so if the other team countered, we had so much power and strength on those four that whoever counted had to do that really well. And if they were fast, Cole and Sol was fast, so they could keep with it. So it was quite difficult to counter against. That's how it used it. And so, like I said, Ashley would go, then Robbie would come inside. Probably the same. If Lauren went, I come inside here. So that's how we played. We will then, for example, Jerry will often drift out here. So if you look here, if you just look at all of a sudden they're 3 against 2 on the side. So it's difficult for the opponents to get the ball. And in the end, if we pass it, in the end you get 1 against 1 somewhere. Where, for example, Ashley and Thierry were very good 1 against 1, while Robbie was more with the ball and did some cute, nice passes. And then on this side, you probably have Dennis dropping back, and that will drag out the centre-backs where we could go, or Jerry could go, and we could play here, which was nice. And me and Robbie, sometimes we can end up here because we had the freedom to roam, and then we had the block here of a counter back, and we then tried to come back. But the general size of the team was massive, and I think that's underestimated sometimes. The power and the athleticism within the team was enormous compared to a lot of other teams. But it was an honor and great to play with. I think you always should have a defensive responsibility. Of course, it sounds bad. We had such a great team, so it depended from game to game. If we were extremely on top of the game, maybe your responsibility didn't have to be so much because they couldn't really come back at you. But in the top games, you had to defend and you had to help because everybody has to do their job. And I believe in that, how do you say, team spirit, and you have to fight for everything. I remember like once when maybe it wasn't this year, but I played on the left, which I actually preferred, but I had Ashley behind me once, and I can't remember what team or what it was, but Ashley said I came down to help him with his winger. So I doubled up to try to help him. And afterwards, I always remember like, Freddie, don't do that. You don't have to do it. You just go up and hurt him, and I'll deal with him. I have him in my own pocket. And he said it in front of his face, but it's like a mind game within the team. And when someone says that to you, all of a sudden, I can go 1 against 1 against the fullback, and which I enjoy. So it gives you freedom. So it's that balance within the teams. It's difficult, and often we talk about wingers or how they, like I say sometimes, yeah, like they can cheat a little bit in the beginning, because if it's a mind game. So if you look at, in my opinion at least, so let's say they were attacking and you are very strong in the middle here, for example, and winger has the ball, he goes at Ashley, for example. We have an overload here, but we have strength here. Somehow we deal with it, and you didn't follow all the way down, which is your job, and you have to. But in some games, if you cheat a little bit, you see some players do, and Ashley wins that 1 against 1, you get the ball here straight away, and you can just run, you can go. That player gets screamed, or the fullback gets screamed about so much from his teammates, from his coach, that he lets you go. And the next time when it happens, he stays and you don't have to run. So there's a lot of those things, at least for me, that I felt goes within the team. And when your fullback then sometimes is not scared, he has so much confidence himself. And like we play and we try to do that once. Of course, sometimes it backfires and you have to go back. But it's interesting, at least. They were very, I say that you see them as they were like modern fullbacks. Like that's the fullback you look at today because they were the ones that gave us the width often. I just loved winning. And it sounds so cocky, but I remember like for me was the first 2-3 goals of a game was the important part. And I know like it sounds bad, but we played like Saturday, Wednesday all the time. So it was hard with the Champions Leagues and stuff. And you went hard in the beginning. And if you were 2-3 goals up, you maybe then slow down a little because you knew you played 3 days later. What I felt was the strength of that team was that we everybody was in the prime of their careers, and you look at them, there were like 11 leaders on the pitch, and you can say on the bench, I can't remember because we had so many great players, but you can say well, we had a bench of maybe Parla, there was a Canu, there was a Viltord, like we had big players on the bench. Edu, I think, was on the bench. Like we had big players on the bench, and so we could use them, of course, but it's a great team. And there was one article, I think 100 years ago, like where how many national team captains was in the team. And there was like loads of them. And that showed in the team when we played as well, because it's, there was so much confidence. But the main thing was like, if I, for example, went for a run here, if, for example, the striker is turned and it's like this, I come, he will sink. Some strikers would just always use your run to get the shot off. And then as a winger, you get fuming. That's happened to me suddenly. Like you don't score, you don't get assists, and people that don't really know the game don't understand that. But there was no egos how we played. So if you were in a better position, because in my opinion, every player, I said it before, in this team was top 3 in the world. Without a doubt, in every position, that's what I felt when we played. But nobody then had to prove themselves. They were so confident in their own ability and what maybe on the egos, what people thought about them. People thought they were great players. So if this happened, for example, the ball would be played. Or if I came down here in a half good position, I could shoot, but I would then wait to see if he would come. I can play it back to him, both fix, or even he would wait and then pass the ball into open net. And people sometimes will go crazy, oh, they don't shoot enough, they don't do this. But that came to how, in my opinion, the confidence and how good we were, because it didn't matter. I was always waiting for someone to have a better opportunity to score. It wasn't about my ego. And so that was something I felt special about this team, because sometimes you can have a younger player coming in, he doesn't have a name, he needs to show how good he is, he needs to get a place in the team, and there's nothing wrong in that, but he doesn't always take the right decisions. And then the other thing was, like I touched before, if you look at, we had great leaders, or there was so many leaders. And it doesn't matter who it was or what name you had on your back. If you didn't do your job or whatever it is, there will be consequences of it. There will be big arguments in the dressing rooms. There will, physically things will happen. And you were accountable for your actions. And I really, really liked that, because there was no one that was like bigger than the team. It didn't matter what your name was. It was us, and all we wanted to do was to win.
Convidamos todos os torcedores para o melhor jogo de futebol online, footballteamgame.com. Clique no link na descrição.